The Toyota Prius has been the go-to car for great fuel economy and great utility for over 10 years now. It's now in its third generation, and they've added a Prius plug-in liftback to the lineup. So does that give you even better fuel economy without any sacrifices? Let's find out. Well, there's no mistaking it from the outside. It's definitely a Toyota Prius. The extra badges let you know that this is the plug-in version. Of course, you're also tipped off by this. This is where you charge it. On the opposite side, that's where you put the gas. Its 5-door liftback shape makes it very useful. And it's sort of a trademark shape, and that's the most important thing. The inside is also instantly recognizable as being a Prius interior. The seats are very supportive and have great adjustability. However, I'm not crazy about this tacky material that they're using on the entry level. The armrest also hides storage and a USB input and a charger. Just in front of that you get one cup holder, and then, surprise, here's another. Here's the trademark shift knob for the Prius. It was actually first seen on some BMWs. B is for downhill braking mode. This button puts you into park, but you can also do that by just turning off the engine. These are your drive mode buttons, HV and EV. Well, you want to be in HV when you're on the highway and EV when you're in the city. Eco will make sure you get the best fuel economy, and also power, you can use that while trying to go up mountain passes or driving on the highway for passing power too. The infotainment screen also houses your backup camera and also navigation, plus apps with Toyota Entune. Underneath the center console, you'll also find a storage tray. Pretty convenient. It's also where you can control your heated seats, and you have a charger too. The climate control system is straightforward and easy to use. The center dash display also gives you more information than just how much fuel you have left or your current speed. You get an energy monitor, which also tells you how much range you have left and how much range you have in your EV battery. You can change the display for more information. Tells you about your consumption, even on a monthly basis. And then you get into more information, how much fuel you saved by using the electric battery. Changing the trip menu gives you information about your current travel, also your odometer, and how much range you have left. The steering wheel houses controls for your radio, also the channel, volume 2. Here you have your Bluetooth controls. And up here, that's where you can control your display and trip menus, also the temperature for the climate control. Down here you have the cruise control, which is the same in Scion and Lexus, as well as Toyota. On the door you have controls for your power windows and door locks, and underneath, well, it's a cup holder, a little bit of storage. I like the fact that you can put your cell phone here without it dropping through. Overall, the interior is very well laid out, and it'll seem quite familiar if you've ever driven a Prius. Out back, there's seating for up to 3. And if you pull down the armrest, you get 2 cup holders. The trunk is quite roomy. I like the fact that there's a cover and also a cargo net. Of course, folding the seats down increases that room substantially. Powering the Prius plug-in is a 1.8-liter dual overhead cam 16-valve 4-cylinder engine which produces 98 horsepower. That's paired with a 4.4 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery which produces 80 horsepower. Together they produce a total of 134 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. That's good for a 0 to 60 time of 10.9 seconds. Fuel economy is rated at 95 miles per gallon while in EV mode and 50 miles per gallon while using gas and hybrid engines together. The electric range is rated at 11 miles per complete charge. So the Prius plug-in starts out at $32,000. My car has very few options: rear bumper applique, cargo net, and floor mats, and you're out the door just over $33,000. Now when you compare that to the Chevy Volt, that one is $7,000 more to start. So this one is much cheaper. But let's talk about real world range and fuel economy. Well, in EV mode, this is rated at 95 miles per gallon, and you get 11 miles on average per electric charge. So if your commute is 5 miles each way, you're golden. You can use this as an electric car most of the time unless you go on a long trip, and I think that's ideal. If you can charge it at work, you can double that. Go 10, 11 miles, and then charge it up at work and come on home and you'll be fine. But the Volt's range is actually around 38 miles per gallon. Look for my review on YouTube of that one. But that one has, of course, more range, but it is more expensive. It's got a bigger electric battery, so it can store more charge, and therefore you can go further in that one. That's the main difference. But in the real world, using this as both an EV vehicle when fully charged, and then when the charge wears off, I've been getting as high as 67 miles per gallon. So I think that in the real world, you can expect to get in the high 60s, certainly the mid 60s, in terms of miles per gallon. That's by the trip computer in the Prius. And so that's pretty good. When you figure that the normal Prius gets 50, and this one gets, on average, what I've seen is the mid or high 60s, well, that's a big improvement. Of course, it's more expensive than the standard Prius liftback, but if you do have a short commute, I think this one's golden. Okay, so I just went out of the electric charge range, and I was just about at 17 miles. So you've got about maybe 17 miles of range by the time the electric battery stops working. But that's not really accurate, because I'm sure the gas engine kicked in, especially when you're accelerating and using a bit of throttle too. Well, tearing up backcountry mountain road is not one of the Prius's fortes, but the engine gets to rev a bit higher, and it's not like you're lugging along like you're in a subcompact from the 80s that can't make it up the hill. And I have to say, as someone who owns a Generation 2 Prius, it's actually quicker than that one, and it does handle the turns much better than that one too. Now, that's not saying it's impressive by any stretch of the word, but it does actually hold the road better than a Gen 2 Prius, and while not certainly fun to drive, it does understeer in a predictable manner, and it basically handles the way you think it should. Plus, it has traction control to make sure that you stay on the road, especially in wet weather. My complaints are very minor with the Toyota Prius plug-in. I just don't like the entry-level tacky sort of velour seating. I hate the feel of it, actually. And I do own a Gen 2 Prius, and that one has leather seating, so I like that. The feel of those seats much better, and the fancy, more high-end Prius plug-in also would be a good choice if you don't like this entry-level seating also. But as I said before, I do think everybody should own a Prius type vehicle, a hybrid, or a plug-in, even better if you can. If that were the case, then this country would probably use about half the oil we use, and we certainly wouldn't be worried about going to war over oil, and that would be a good thing in my opinion. I'm really impressed with the Prius family, as they call it in their marketing, and I think it's true. They're sort of the Kleenex of hybrids, and they do offer a lot of great cars, all of which I've tested now that I'm testing the plug-in here. The Prius C offers 53 miles per gallon pretty much any way you drive it, even better in some cases. And then you have the liftbacks, the regular one and plug-in here, which I'm testing. And then you have the Prius V or 5, and that's sort of a minivan, so holds a lot more cargo and people as well. But they really are the Kleenex of hybrids, and I think it's well deserved. The only thing I'll say is, okay, 11 miles is great for an EV range if you do have a short commute. I would like them to improve it in the near future, hopefully, to really offer a little extra. Since they are the go-to car for hybrids and the most popular and the best selling, I'd like to see them step up that range a little bit. But that being said, again, if you have a short commute and you also want the option of going further, you know, you're going to get, as I've experienced, at least in the mid-60s in terms of miles per gallon fuel economy. And that's very good and much better than the standard Prius liftback. So really, this Prius plug-in gives you the best of both worlds, and you're really not sacrificing anything from the normal liftback. It is a bit more expensive, but over time, especially if you're going to use this car with a short commute, I think it'll really pay for itself. And it is a very usable, very economical, and very comfortable car too. Overall, it's just a great car. I'm Drivin Ivan Katz.